Welcome to Cartagena, Colombia. Often considered the crown jewel of the Caribbean, this centuries-old city has a long and colorful history. This city is one of the best-kept secrets in world travel and will awe you with its iconic architecture, tropical flavor, amazing food, intense nightlife, and historic charm. Join me on a journey as we explore this fascinating piece of Colombia, showing you the best things to do and see and giving you the lowdown on traveling to this off-the-beaten-path destination. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Project Gaia. JP here, and today we are exploring beautiful Cartagena, Colombia. Now, I love this city because it is filled with history. It's so unique, and it has a real kind of grittiness, almost like non-commercialized, untouched feel about it. It is a newer mainstream destination in the westernized world, so people have been coming here over the last several years, and it's growing every year. A lot of people are scared to come here. It is Colombia. It is not a first world country, so this isn't for beginner travelers, right? You kind of got to have your wits about you and know what you're doing. But the center city, or the walled city, or the old city is pretty much what we're going to focus on, because this is the meat of everything to do and see when you're here in Cartagena. Now, we are going to see beautiful and colorful colonial architecture. We're going to see one of the best Spanish forts ever constructed in the world, and we're going to have some good food and also see some of the most beautiful churches in South America. So, welcome to Cartagena and welcome to Colombia. One thing that you must check out when you're here in Cartagena is Plaza de los Coches, which is where we are now. So it's really beautiful. I mean, you're surrounded by these really colorful old colonial buildings with these amazing balconies jutting out into the plaza. And then what's interesting about here is it actually was a market for enslaved peoples in the past. So it kind of has a bit of a dark history. Now it's just kind of a tourist site. I mean, they're selling a lot of like tourist stuff, pineapples, fruit, little trinkets, stuff you might want to buy when you're here, right? But it has an amazing history, so definitely check this out. While you're in Plaza de los Coches, check out the centuries-old city gate known as Castellón de los Atires. This fascinating stone gate ceremoniously welcomes you into the plaza and marks the beginning of your adventure into Cartagena's old city. Now, Cartagena is often called the walled city. The old city, the walled city, the tourist part of the city has a lot of different names. But what it's known for is its amazing, massive wall that surrounds it, right? So you got to think of the history. So when the city was established, there was a lot of pirates, a lot of fighting between the English, the Spanish, and all these different colonial powers, right? So the city was walled in, and this is a remnant of the wall, and the wall circumnavigates the entire city. And what's so cool about it is you can see the design of it. I mean, this thing is massive and just built so amazingly, right? And you can see pieces of shell and slate from the local area that was used to build this. So they use all local materials. Also, pay a visit to Plaza de Aduana. This plaza is a little more quiet, and once again you are surrounded by beautifully colored centuries-old colonial architecture. So something that is for sure worth a visit is the Cathedral de Cartagena de Alejandría. In Spanish, that means the Cathedral of St. Catherine of Alexandria. Now, this is known as the Cathedral of Cartagena. Now, it is a beautiful building, both inside and out, and really has a foreboding, just giant, beautiful presence here, right in the center of the old town. Now, it was completed in 1612, so it's over 400 years old. So you'll see that all through Cartagena, these really old 300, 400, 500-year-old churches, plazas, and just colonial structures all around. So let's head in. Cathedral de Santa Catalina de Alejandría is one of Cartagena's most breathtaking churches. It was built in the 16th century and stands as a testament to the city's rich history and devotion to a higher power. Its stunning facade and awe-inspiring interior really beckons you to marvel at its intense beauty and helps you to immerse yourself in centuries of Colombian history and tradition. Right as you exit the cathedral, I recommend the next thing you check out is Plaza de Biv. Now this basically is a square, right? So it's a little park, but it's just beautifully lush. I mean, you have palm trees, all these tropical plants surrounded by these old and colorful buildings. It really is a nice place to stop and cool off, and it stays a lot cooler in here because it's surrounded by all the trees. One thing to note though, there are a lot of people trying to sell you stuff, so that might get a little annoying, but a simple, no quiero nada, gracias, that means I don't want anything, thank you, or just no gracias means no thank you. Usually, sends the message. But definitely check this out, it is very beautiful. Okay, the Spanish thing. So you have to know a little Spanish if you come to Cartagena. Let me repeat that. You have to know a little Spanish if you come to Cartagena. So this is not like Cancun, this is not like Paris where they all know English. Okay, you have to know it a little bit. Okay, so I am in no way conversational in Spanish. I took 2 years in high school. I had a very good teacher. And I grew up with a lot of Hispanic people. And I practice on Duolingo. So I'm in no way conversational, but I am able to kind of give phrases and say what I want and understand what they're saying a little bit. I understand probably 50% of what they're saying. So if you go into a restaurant, ask them, ¿Tú hablas inglés? And they'll respond to you. They'll say either, sí, yes, I understand English a little bit, or they'll say no. And a lot of them say no. I'd say 70% of the time. So you cannot come here without knowing a little bit of Spanish. So make sure you brush up on your Spanish a little bit before you come here, because you're gonna be a little lost if you don't, okay? Now, an absolute must-see that you can't miss when you're here in Cartagena is the Palacio de la Inquisition, which basically means the Palace of the Inquisition. So a lot of people forget this fact that for much of Cartagena and Colombia's history, it was a colony of Spain up into the early 1800s. So, just like there was a Spanish Inquisition, there was an Inquisition here as well. So, people that were not faithful to the Catholic Church, whether that was true or if that was believed, were tried, sometimes tortured, and sometimes killed here. So it has a dark past, but the building is absolutely beautiful. And you go through, there's also a museum. It teaches you a little bit about the history of Cartagena, has some special exhibits, and it also teaches you about the Spanish Inquisition here in Cartagena and in Colombia. Most of the signs are in Spanish, so there is a little bit. I'd say 75% is in Spanish and about 25% is in English. So you can kind of get by, but it may help to ask for a guide at the front. So let's head in. Step inside the Palacio de la Inquisición and journey to an era of torture, religious intolerance, and mystery. The building dates back to the 18th century and served as the headquarters of the Spanish Inquisition in Colombia. Today it stands as a reminder of darker times, but also offers a fascinating glimpse into the colonial era judicial system. Explore its chambers, witness its chilling artifacts, and learn about the stories of those who had to endure religious persecution. Cartagena is one of the most lively, colorful, and interesting destinations I've ever encountered. As you wander through its meandering lanes, you can't help but feel inspired. The whole city is like some sort of artistic tapestry. I don't know if it's all the color and flavor or the intense friendliness of the people, but you can't help but feel happy and inspired. It's an enthralling place and makes you feel connected to everyone around you. It's a place where you can have fun, forget the worries of everyday life, and enjoy the moments that make life worth living. Because, after all, isn't that why we all travel?
So the next thing you should check out when you're here in Cartagena is the Museo del Oro Zenu, which basically is the Museum of Gold, right? So Colombia has an amazing history all related to gold and gold making and finding gold and all of that. So there's a large museum in Bogota in Colombia, and that's the world famous Museo del Oro. So this is a smaller version, but nonetheless it's pretty cool to take a look at. It's right in the center of town and it's completely free. So it's definitely worth it. You can see some priceless artifacts of thousands and thousands of year-old gold pieces. So let's head in.
Inside the Museo de Oro Zenu, you will see ancient gold treasures come to life. Dive into the rich cultural legacy of the Zenu people as you explore beautiful and extraordinary gold artifacts, ceramics, and more. This museum will help you to appreciate the pre-Columbian craftsmanship of Colombia's indigenous people and evokes a sense of mystery, adventure, and awe.
Okay, the next thing you have to check out is the Santuario de San Pedro Claver. So this amazing, beautiful building here is a convent, kind of monastery, and a church. And who San Pedro was he was considered the priest of the enslaved population. So what he did is he dedicated his ministry to preaching the word of God to enslaved Africans. So he's often known as the Saint of the Blacks, or Saint of the Slaves. So inside the building it is amazingly beautiful, and there's a museum that explains his history as well as how this building and his ministry has been so beneficial to the heritage of Cartagena. So let's go in.
The sanctuary is nestled within the vibrant heart of the city and is significant to the cultural heritage of Cartagena. San Pedro Claver, the patron saint of slaves, dedicated his ministry to serving the oppressed and marginalized in the 17th century. Within these sacred walls, he offered solace and support to countless enslaved Africans brought to Cartagena during the Atlantic slave trade. His relentless advocacy for human rights and dignity echoes through these formidable walls and tranquil gardens. As we stand in awe of the sanctuary's architectural beauty, let us not forget its deeper meaning and significance. Each stone, each arch, bears witness to the spirit of compassion that permeates its very foundation. And this attractive museum is dedicated to his mission and Christianity in general in Cartagena. This specific section of the sanctuary is the very spot where enslaved Africans lived while San Pedro taught them about Catholicism and offered them solace in an otherwise grim existence. Paintings of his ministry adorn the walls and help you feel more connected to his moving story. This is also the location of San Pedro's room and his final resting place. Next, be sure to check out the actual church where San Pedro preached. This is a practicing Catholic church, and you can feel the inspiration and story within these sacred walls. One of the best things to do in Cartagena is simply to get lost in its myriad of colorful streets. Put the phone down, look up and around you, and appreciate the amazing beauty that this fascinating city has to offer. And realize that you are walking through one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
So one section you have to check out in Cartagena is Santo Domingo Church, so Iglesia de Santo Domingo, and Santo Domingo Plaza. So we're on the plaza now, and it's just a beautiful outdoor space, and there's alfresco dining. I mean, everyone's sitting outside, lots of tables and chairs, and it's pretty much a square surrounded by these colorful colonial buildings once again. So definitely check these out when you're here.
Make sure you don't leave Cartagena without filling up La Gorda Gertrudis. Touching her voluptuous upper half is said to ensure your return to Cartagena and bring you good luck and fortune. After you felt up La Gorda, make sure you ask God to forgive your sins in the amazing adjacent cathedral. This architectural gem is usually open and offers you an opportunity of solace and reflection during your big tour of Cartagena. After the sun goes down, Cartagena gets even more interesting. This colorful city is anything but sleepy, and you can't help but revel in the energy of its vibrant nightlife scene.
José de voz, y no te preocupes que lo hacemos a capela, New York, welcome to Cartagena. El flow y el estilo como suena, llegaron los raperos más duros de Cartagena, tú viniste blanco de aquí, te vas moreno, Cartagena.
Lo siento.
That's okay. On YouTube, I'm on YouTube. I'm putting the restaurant on YouTube.
Hola, YouTube.
There you go. So Cartagena is known for its seafood, so you have to get seafood when you get here. And I recommend you check out La Cevicherera, right? So this is an amazing seafood restaurant, right? They have really tasty seafood dishes, all kinds of fish, paella, lobster, shrimp, everything. Now I started here with a garlic butter shrimp, and let me tell you, it's amazing. It is very, very good. It just like melts in your mouth. It doesn't taste fishy at all. It's so tender, very good. And they have drinks as well. So they have this, and then I'm gonna get the fish of the day, and I recommend you do so as well. So an absolute must-do when you're here in Cartagena is to visit this massive fortress behind me. This is called the Castillo de Felipe de Barajas, and this is the greatest Spanish fort ever created. So it is absolutely huge. It could take you several hours to go through this, and I recommend you go in the morning because the heat gets very intense. So I went when it opened at 8. Another tip is this is outside of the walled city. So this isn't really in the tourist section. It's close to it, but it's not in it. You go through kind of some sketchy areas. If you're not used to traveling to, not first world countries, it might freak you out. So I probably would take a cab. It'll make you more comfortable. Anyways, this is an amazing fort, and it has all these cool, interesting little labyrinth-like tunnels underneath it. And in these tunnels, you could walk through them, and they were designed so that the military here, if anybody was in them, they could hear the footsteps reverberating throughout the entire complex. And as many times as this Castillo was stormed, it was never taken. It was truly impregnable. So it is an amazing thing to see here, and without further ado, let's head in.
This fortress is steeped in history and is a major landmark and cultural site in Cartagena. Standing as a testament to the city's resilience, this formidable structure bears witness to centuries of triumph and tribulation. It was built in the 16th century by Spanish colonial forces, and a strategic location atop the San Lazaro Hill provided a vantage point from which to safeguard the city from countless colonial invasions and pirate raids. Beyond its military significance, the Castillo is a testament to the ingenuity and craftsmanship of its builders. Its intricate design, with its labyrinth-like tunnels and imposing ramparts, is a marvel of colonial-era engineering and continues to captivate visitors hundreds of years later.
Buddy, we stay here in Cartagena City, the best place in Colombia. You got a very, very nice experience here. Very good, very nice, and very well the time. The best driver, Elvis. Number 1. Welcome to Cartagena.
Elvis, the best driver. My man.
Yo, toast the rock, man.
All
Number
right.
1.
Okay guys, so some tips and tricks in exploring Cartagena. Number 1, do not drive. Do not rent a car, do not drive here. I don't know where anybody parks. I mean, there's taxis, but just don't do it. There's really no point. Number 2, make sure you get Colombian pesos. So most places do not take American dollars or British pounds. So make sure you get the currency. I recommend doing it when you get out of the airport. There's a currency exchange there. And that brings me to the next point. So since it's not a first world country, things are incredibly cheap. I'm not joking. Like, you can get a steak dinner for the equivalent of about like 10 to 15 US dollars. Like, and I'm talking the works. I'm talking drinks, steak, appetizers, all that. Another thing to note is Cartagena has a lot of people selling stuff on the street, right? A little bit of beggars, but mostly people selling stuff. So it's kind of junky stuff that you don't really want, right? But a simple no quiero nada, gracias, or no gracias. That means I don't want anything, thank you, or no thank you, will do. They can be very, very, very persistent. They'll ask you where you're from, they'll try to start a conversation with you, they want you to give them money, and it's understandable because they're coming from the areas that are poorer than the center city, right? So they're coming in here and they're trying to get money off of first world tourists, really. So it gets very annoying. That is my biggest complaint of Cartagena. After a while, you're just like, leave me alone, like, go away. You get really, really annoyed. But, you know, just tell them, no quiero nada, no gracias. So the other thing is staying inside the walled city. The walled city is very safe. Getsemani is very safe. But once you leave the walled city, you're kind of more in it. I don't really recommend it unless you are an avid traveler who's been to, like, you know, more second and third world countries, because it will freak you out, okay? It's not, this is not Disney World. This is not Chicago. This is not New York. This is not London. This is not even Miami. So just keep that in mind. And I'm not trying to scare you. It's not scary. But if you're not used to like a little bit of edge, it's an edgy place. It might freak you out a little bit. Not in the walled city, but outside the walled city. The final thing, this has become in recent years a big center for bachelor parties and bachelorette parties, and people looking for drugs and prostitution. It's very available here. Sometimes if you're a guy, they will approach you for prostitution, right? And drugs is very available as well. I've got offered drugs a couple times. Don't do it, because if you're looking for trouble here, you will find it, right? You really will. So I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't mess with it. Just come here, see the sights, have the food, you know, enjoy it in a good way. I mean, you could drink and party a little bit, fun, but I'm saying don't get into anything dark. Don't follow anyone to an alley. Don't, you know, entertain any of that.
I recommend when choosing accommodations in Cartagena, you pick a boutique hotel in the center of the walled city. I am not getting sponsored by this hotel in any way, but I highly recommend the Hotel Bantu. It is centrally located within walking distance to all the sites, and it has extremely affordable room rates, About $100 a night for this amazingly beautiful and posh tropical retreat. You'd be lucky to get a free continental breakfast at a Best Western in Ohio for this price in the US. The property has 2 pools, amazing gardens, a restaurant, a bar, a library, massage services, and just an amazing vibe. It's definitely nice to have a swim after a long day of touring the historic city.
So why is it called the walled city? Well, a lot of cities were surrounded by walls to protect them years ago, hundreds of years ago. This is very common in Europe. A lot of European cities you will see are completely surrounded by medieval and colonial era walls. This is no exception. After all, it was a colony of Spain. So the entire old city, or the walled city, is surrounded by the wall. Now, if you want to go up on the wall's actually very interesting. It's very beautiful, and it's hundreds of years old, so it's pretty cool to see. And if you want to see the walls and walk up on the walls, I recommend you go to Baluarte Santo Domingo. That's where I am now. It's just like an entrance, and it's the best preserved part of the wall. And then beyond that, you can see the Caribbean Sea. Now, something interesting about Cartagena is even though it's on the sea, it's not really of the sea because of the wall. And then past the wall, there is a highway, and then the shore is really rocky. It's not like a beach. So when you come here, don't expect it to be too beachy in the walled city in the main section. You have to go outside the walled city to get to the beaches. And this, my friends, is by far the most commercial thing I've seen in Cartagena. Please don't go here. I don't even know why they're here. I really hope that these kind of restaurants and chain establishments don't start coming here, because it's really going to ruin the character of it. Just don't come here.
Make sure you don't forget to take a stroll through Parque Centenario. This lush tropical retreat is filled with amazing foliage and wildlife, and offers you an invigorating glimpse into the flora of the surrounding countryside.
Now, the next thing you have to see when you're here in Cartagena is the Getsemani neighborhood, which is where we are now. Now, this neighborhood is actually outside the walled city, so it's not in the traditional old city section. So you walk, it's about a 10-minute walk, really not bad at all. And what's so great about this neighborhood is it's really up and coming. A lot of artists come here, a lot of local Cartagenans come here to eat, to go out, and it is a big party spot too. So if you're coming here and you're looking to party, this is a good place to go.
I have visited many cities in the US and around the world, and I can confidently say that few neighborhoods can match the colorful and lively energy that permeates Getsemani. This is one of the most beautiful and unique neighborhoods I've ever visited. From the amazing art that adorns the walls to the eclectic bars and restaurants, this neighborhood possesses a young and lively vibe that just simply makes you feel alive. It is truly a pleasure to walk down the amazingly ornate small lanes around Getsemani and makes you feel connected to your fellow man in a way that is hard to find in most neighborhoods in America. Take your time in Getsemani and really soak in the beautiful tapestry of this amazing destination. Because, after all, aren't destinations like this the reason we travel? To revel in the beauty of something different and to escape the mundane and normal. And what is normal anyways? A place where things are predictable, safe, sterile, and easy? Getsemani is anything but, and this creative center challenges you to break out of your normal and to become connected to a world that is happy, relaxed, interesting, and colorful.
Okay guys, this was Cartagena. Now, it is an amazing city. I mean, I could honestly say it is one of the most lively cities I've ever been to in my life. It is so exciting. There's so much flavor about it. The food is amazing, the people are wonderful, and it really is a very unique and amazing destination that you really should have on your bucket list in life. So guys, listen, if you like this kind of content, please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video, share this video, it really helps me out in the algorithm. And let me know in the comments box below if you have any questions about anywhere I went. I'm happy to answer all questions. Or leave me a suggestion for something I missed and for the whole community. Okay guys, until next time, take care, bye.